3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today I'm going to share part 3 of our user's guide to mental health. And as with parts 1 and 2, little disclaimer, this is not designed as a substitute for professional advice or help, but it is designed as stuff for you to consider that has made a big difference in my life and might make a big difference in yours. And if you want to learn more, you can go to our free course on michaelneill.org/basic course, where we share 12 kind of simple video lessons and sessions about the insight on understanding. And the book that I have been recommending throughout the series it's that simple, A User's Manual for Human Beings by Mavis Karn. Now, what I wanted to talk about in today's session is one of the simplest truths I've seen about human beings and our curious relationship with our emotions. It seems to me that a lot of people have a condition that if it had a name, it would be called emotophobia. And it would be like an abnormal or pathological fear of emotions, particularly those thought of as negative or non-productive emotions. And it manifested in me, my emotophobia, as first numbness, because I just tried to depress my feelings down so that I wouldn't feel them. And then later, an obsession with self-help techniques and therapy techniques to control my feelings and fix my feelings. And this carried on until I realized that there's no such thing as a solution to a feeling. It's just a feeling. And where our feelings come from is thought. Thought is like, I don't know if you ever did this science experiment as a kid, but my mom was a science teacher, and one of the experiments we used to do was we'd put corn flour in water and cornstarch, and if you put your hand in the water, it feels like you're grabbing up a handful of sand. But when you actually pull it out, it all drains through your fingers. So it's this weird thing that it sort of solid, but it isn't, and it's sort of liquid, but it isn't. And thought is the equivalent of that. It's kind of invisible, and yet there's a feel to it. And we live in the feeling of thought. But it looks like we're living in the feeling of our circumstances. It looks like where our feelings are coming from are the world. And so we need to either change the world to change the way we feel, fix the world to fix the way we feel, change our circumstances, change other people, or we need to fix ourselves. But the whole premise behind this user's guide is there's nothing wrong with you. You are innately, perfectly, mentally healthy. And you may have some really unhelpful habits, some buses you've been riding, if you've listened to the other audios in the series, that take you places that really are unpleasant to go. Now, when you start to see, firstly, that we're living in the feeling of thought and there's no such thing as a solution to a feeling, because feelings come and go, and it's okay to feel good when you feel good and bad when you feel bad. And when your thinking changes, your feelings will change with it. And there's nothing to fix. What happens is all of that roller coaster of emotion begins to settle. And you find yourself spending more and more time in the deeper feeling of your own mental health, of your own well-being. Now, I've shared in the first podcast in the series that, I started out as a depressed teenager with suicidal ideation, and I didn't give away the happy ending. I'm actually kind of happy, and I'm loved, and I'm, a successful grown-up. But that's not to say that I don't still get insecure thoughts and scary feelings. It's just that I kind of made my peace with the fact that as long as I think, I'm going to feel. And when the thinking changes, the feelings will change. And underneath that roller coaster of thought and feeling is this deeper sense of stillness, this deeper place of peace that I talk about in my work as the space within. And I wrote about this in one of my books called The Space Within, that one of the biggest differences between this inside-out understanding and the way traditional psychology and self-help view feelings is that if you told a typical therapist or self-help guru that you're upset about your childhood, you're being argumentative with your partner or your parents or your children, or you're struggling with your finances, if they're any good, they'll reframe your problems in a positive light. They'll affirm your greatness. They'll offer up their best strategies for having a happy childhood or better marriage or financial abundance. But if you said the same thing to somebody who's insightfully seen that we're living in the feeling of our thinking, not the feeling of our circumstances, if they're being honest, they're going to say, hey, me too. Welcome to the human condition. Yeah, it sucks sometimes to feel shitty. But then they'll point you inside. They'll point you to that part of you that is always already okay, towards a fresh experience of your innate mental health, your deeper nature, your inner wisdom, your well-being, all of that you are made of that lets you live your life with ease and grace in spite of the insecure thinking and the uncomfortable feelings and the unproductive behavior that everybody engages in from time to time. And when you start to see that there's no such thing as a solution to a feeling, because there's no need for a solution to a feeling, because there's nothing wrong with feeling anything, you really get to settle. You really get to relax into this moment. And you really get a sense of just how mentally healthy you always already are. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.